Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Blindsiders. I'm Brian, and I'm joined by Dylan. Dylan, how are you?
What's up, guys? Figured we would drop in. We're 1 week out, almost 1 week exactly, right? A few
Yep,
minutes
this
behind.
time next week.
Very exciting. Once again, we have been building up to this for quite some time. We're going on year 5 of our podcast, right? I think year 5 of our podcast. We have gone through now 10 seasons, or yeah, this will be our 10th season that we have
Yep.
covered. So all kind of building up to this. I can't believe we're a week away, right? I think it's been over a year since Survivor 50 was announced, right? Or like kind of the idea of what Survivor 50 would be, that it'd be a returning player season. And I think
Yeah.
in between them, we had the fan vote for how we wanted certain things to go for the season, which obviously the season's theme, if you want to call it that, is in the hands of the fans. So that was something we did a year ago now, which is crazy to think about. I genuinely can't believe that we're a week away. I know I
I
said it
know.
before. I was more excited for Survivor 50 than I was for the Super Bowl this year. This is probably the most excited I have been for a TV event. I can't remember, maybe since like that 2 year gap we had for Game of Thrones. I think maybe we all know how that ended for all of us, and hopefully it's not a similar outcome here. But I
hmm
think probably since that hiatus of Game of Thrones, where we came back for the final season, I don't think I have anticipated something on TV more than I do now. I've panicked. I've shaved the beard. I'm now a mustache only guy apparently.
hmm
But I am just very very excited. I have been indulging in everything Survivor 50 and all the pregame and press stuff, which I purposely originally I was going to watch it all because I didn't want to get oversaturated with 50 and the players and all that. But now I've started to indulge now, which I feel like it was maybe the best way to do it because it's just each day I'm consuming more and more Survivor. Like the closer we get, the more excited I'm going to get. Shout out my brother, who I think is watching right now. He is incredibly excited. Him and I, that's like all we talk about is Survivor. It's just what a time to be alive. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. I hope the premiere. We got 3 hours. I hope the premiere is not a stinker. I really don't think it will be, just based on the personalities we have. But I really can't believe we're here. I really can't. It seemed like it was so long ago we began talking about this, and it's just time really does fly. But I'm very very excited.
Yeah, I think it's especially interesting to hear your point of view because this is the first All Star season, but since you've become like a fan of the show,
Yep.
obviously over COVID, when it came to Netflix, you hopped on and you've been with it all through the new era. So I guess what's that kind of like for you coming into it with returning players for the first time?
It definitely feels different because, one, we've been saying for a while now on this podcast, the show desperately needs a returning player all star type season. Which, so between getting that, it's kind of repeaked interest for me in the show. Obviously, coming off of 49, I actually really enjoyed the 49, especially the post merge. I think all worked out really well. So, and I think kind of getting the two most interesting players from that season is going to be benefiting everything here. That brings an interesting element to it. I think I've seen every single person on this cast play, which is another big one. It's not like it's something that I've missed anybody's original season for them playing. I've seen everybody here, minus Rick, who I like really didn't fully consume his season. I watched it, but like that was a very much a background, a well working season for me.
Yeah,
So like
yeah,
I think Rick Devens is probably the one I'm least first in. But I think just knowing everybody coming back, obviously we kind of have that half that is all new era players that I like. I think all new era players that a lot of people like. We obviously have three of the best winners of new era, so we have the hype there. And then obviously we have people like Kobe who were household names, 20 years ago. How having him back is just exciting of its own. My all-time favorite player, coach, who will get into it. I have kind of just been indulging completely in all pro coach propaganda, including coming from Tyson's podcast, which I listened to today.
mhm,
And I am more, I have talked myself more into a coach win than I even had before when I took him first in our fantasy draft.
mhm.
I legitimately think coach may win, which all in itself is very, very exciting for me. It's like coming into a season of football or any other sport where you like truly believe your team's a contender and is going to win. And I feel that
Right.
right now. So that adds
Yeah.
extra. development. It's great.
I'll be honest, don't really know what that's like, but I imagine it's fun.
And what you mean by that is you're a Dolphins fan and you have known
Mhm.
nothing but a lifetime of misery. Yeah.
The best I can hope for is like we'll be okay and then something will horribly go wrong. Um I've never come into a season being like it's our year. And it's never been. So hopefully it will be coach's year though. I think that'd be super fun to see if coach can kind of overcome his flaws. And he seems to be open to the criticism that was leveled against him through the years, and he seemed to have evolved a lot. He's a father now, which is very different from where he was in Tocantins as this like adventuring solo guy. Now he's a family man, and hopefully that helps him out.
Yeah. So the pod I reference, the pod is spoken, which is Tyson's Ringer pod, which is, I think, outside of this podcast here, is the best Survivor podcast on the airwaves.
Ooh, all right.
They had Dalton Ross on. The way they've been doing it, they've been having certain guests on to break down how the tribes are, and Dalton Ross was on to discuss. I think it's pronounced Kalo, which is the tribe that has. Let me pull up the actual tribes. I think maybe it might be fun to quickly dive through some of these tribes because I don't think when we did our draft we knew the tribes yet. I don't remember.
Yeah, we definitely didn't necessarily dive into the dynamics if we did know.
I want to pull.
I'm sure like the spoilers were out there of what the tribes were for.
Yeah, so Kalo. I'm just gonna open up the picture. Kalo is Charlie, Chrissy, Coach D, Jonathan, Camilla, Mike White, and Tiffany. Which honestly, for me, is probably outside of just having Coach. I think that is far and away the most interesting tribe to me. So, I guess to quickly touch on Tyson's podcast, and before we kind of dive into the rest of the tribe stuff, Dalton Ross was on. I believe he works for Entertainment Weekly, so they were going through all the press stuff there. I think he works for Entertainment Weekly. I believe you can correct me if I'm wrong there. They were doing all the press stuff there. He was basically talking about how awesome this experience was, how different it has been to previous seasons. How like they literally had players walking around with noise canceling headphones on so they didn't hear each other during pregame. Because obviously, I think this specifically, when you have a returning player season, is obviously inevitable that you're going to have players that are pre-gamed, especially players that are pre-gamed very, very hard. Apparently, Angelina is one of those players that has pre-gamed very, very hard. I think when you have those players, like their pre-gaming is going to happen. So I think they're doing everything they can to try to keep everybody as separated as possible. So they've had players walking around with complete noise canceling headphones on. My favorite bit from this story is that Coach has been very, very vocal since 50 was announced. If there was an NDA, I think he posted something today that like NDAs don't apply to the Dragon Slayer. I guess Coach was having like a mental breakdown because they were like putting everybody in their own like individual pods while they waited to do their press junket. And I guess Coach was just throwing a fit, saying how he can't believe that he's being treated this way. How like he just wanted to break out. Like it's perfect Coach. I think that, and they talked about. I think it was Rizzo specifically said that he talked about how the Riz God, Rizgod, shout out Riz God, is a character. He acknowledges, he builds up the character for TV. That's fine. That's what we want. We want these players, to be themselves, but to amplify it. Obviously, Benjamin, Coach, Dragon Slayer, Wade is sort of a character in itself, while also maybe being the most authentic anybody has ever been on Survivor ever. He was doing Tai Chi in the airport. First thing he was doing there was just he's gone full blown Coach, which has me very, very excited because I think he went into Heroes versus Villains kind of really unsure of, a little upset about how he was perceived by the fans because I think a lot of fans did not like him after Tocantins. They talked about it once again on Tyson's podcast how kind of the second wave for the love of Tocantins came down the road. And the love for players like Coach and Tyson came after the fact. So I think he went into Heroes versus Villains, and we saw scenes like this too in Heroes versus Villains, where Coach was really kind of battling with being liked and looked at as a hero, where really he's being perceived as a villain or somebody that's like goofy and not serious. So I think that maybe affected some of Coach's gameplay in Heroes versus Villains. And then obviously we had South Pacific, where basically he ran his own cult, and people were begging Coach to admit that it was all an act and to be genuine, and he stuck to everything. And even though maybe that was potentially detrimental to his game. So I think that we are getting this season a full-blown, obviously Coach is older. It's been how long? 15 years since South Pacific?
Yeah, he
maybe
last
more,
played
20?
in 2011.
So
I remember that was my freshman year of college. That fall season was South Pacific.
So 15 years Coach has grown up. Obviously, a lot of our returning players in this season are much older than we remember them. That's how time works. I think Coach.
Unfortunately, yeah.
I think Coach, we are going to be getting the pure Coach experience. I think Coach really does not really care any longer about how he's perceived. I think he knows he has his dedicated fans. He has the Coach cult. I think that is going to greatly benefit him in this game. One of the things that Dalton brought up on that podcast, this is basically going to almost be like a breakdown of that podcast that I listened to today, because I thought it was one of the best episodes of a Survivor podcast I've listened to recently. It really was. My brother, he talked it up, and I thought there was no way it was going to be that good. I think some of the stories they told between Dalton talking about the beach and between kind of Tyson giving the background info he did around things like Winners at War and Heroes versus Villains, and kind of like the money discrepancy pay, and also really kind of gives a background to why Tyson is not a huge fan of like current Survivor production and Jeff and all that. It's really, really interesting. So if you haven't listened to it, listen to it. It's not like that's his sole purpose of the podcast is that, but like you can catch things that Tyson says that kind of gives clues to what he views kind of the heads of Survivor and Jeff as a whole right now.
Mhm.
But Dalton was there, and he basically talked about how all the players loved Coach. They talked about how like just seeing Coach, how not necessarily starstruck they were, but just everybody wants to work with Coach. Everybody loves Coach, which I'm very happy to hear, because I think that Coach is one of the scariest first boot candidates that we have for this season. I think that I can very, very easily, at first, honestly, before these tribes came out, I was way more nervous about it. But now that we have this tribe breakdown, I feel much better. Basically, everybody wants to work with Coach. Everybody loves Coach. I think the way that his tribe, Kahlo, is set up is really kind of perfect for him, because we obviously know Coach is a man of integrity. Coach is a man of faith. So he wants people that are with integrity, with faith, to play with him. And I think nobody matches that better than Jonathan, for one. I think Coach and Jonathan are going to be great to work with. Apparently, D and Coach, they were the only two that had previously met that are on this tribe. I think is my understanding, outside of, I don't know how like familiar Mike White is with everybody else. But I guess they are the two. I guess Charlie and Tiffany obviously played together.
They played together, yeah.
So they would know each other. But D had met Coach, loves Coach. I think Coach is set up, unless we're blindsided, we could be having a completely different conversation this time next week. If Coach is a first boot, I am.
I think it would depend on what kind of shape he's in coming into it. I unfortunately am fearful for Camilla on this tribe more than Coach.
Yeah,
right off the bat. So
a quick breakdown, because I do want to quickly touch on all three tribes. A quick breakdown of Kahlo. I already said this, but we have Charlie, Chrissy, Coach, D, Jonathan, Camilla, Mike White, and Tiffany. To me, Mike White, I think we said it on our draft podcast. Mike White seems like a very, very easy person to be booted early on in this game. I think Mike White is there almost as a nod to everything that he's brought into Survivor in the past 10 years since his season. He was a huge Survivor fan. He played on one of the best seasons recently, David versus Goliath. Obviously we have White Lotus, which is we've had people from Survivor in White Lotus. We've had White Lotus as kind of like was inspired by Survivor. Obviously, I think Mike White said that he came up with the idea of the show while playing Survivor. It's just, I think it's a nod to him, which I'm fine with. We talked about it on our draft podcast. If you want like a full in-depth version of that, listen to that. I think that Mike White is very, very easily probably the person that is most likely to go home first in this tribe. With the one caveat, and we know that there's probably going to be we're going to get a lot of double tribal episodes early on, is my assumption. Just we have the most people that have ever played in Survivor season, so that in and of itself, they numbers wise, they need to have double eliminations early on. Let's not forget they have Jonathan, who is maybe probably the best physical player that's ever played this game, just pure dominance. I think that they're going to be winning a lot of challenges early on strictly because of Jonathan. So that makes me feel better about Coach. But this tribe, it really is kind of just a mosh posh of a bunch of different players and how they play. And I don't know. I love Coach's chance, especially if what Dalton said, everybody is in love with Coach and wants to work with him. If that's not just building it up for like pregame to only have him be the first one cut loose, that makes me feel very, very good. I love my coach, Ben Wade, first overall pick for my team. I think he's going to go far. I really do. I hope. I really hope he doesn't go first episode because it's going to ruin the next month for me.
No, I don't think he'll be first off. I think he'll do well. We'll see. I mean, there's so much. I saw a lot of people immediately clocking the Vatu tribe, which is Angela, Aubrey, Colby, Genevieve, Kyle, Q, Rizzo, and Stephanie as the disaster tribe. I don't feel like that's the case. I think that's a pretty solid, like throughout good tribe. I think the Clea tribe with Christian, Suri, Emily, Jenna, Joe, Ozzy, Rick, and Savannah has a better chance of being the disaster tribe. But I mean, we'll see. If it's double elimination, that could be 2 disaster tribes, like you said.
I guess like looking at both of them, because obviously having the knowledge of how they play, I really don't know who. There's a disaster tribe every season. The scale of how much of a disaster they are obviously changes, but there is a disaster tribe every season, especially in this new 3-tribe format and the way that they play the game. It's very easy for one tribe, once they lose their first challenge, they go down a path where they're losing challenge after challenge. So really, any tribe, I guess,
can be mitigated by the sizes, where we see the disaster tribe snowball effect happen because you only start with 6 people, and then you're like, okay, well, we only have 5 people to do all the camp stuff, and it kind of just snowballs on itself. You lose one person, you still got 7 people. It might not be as drastic.
Do we think that there is any chance at all that each tribe has to have an elimination first episode?
No, I don't think so.
There has to be.
I would actually wouldn't even be surprised. Well, it's 3 hours, right? I would imagine the first 2 hours is one tribal council, maybe the first like hour and a half, and then the next one is another, and then like from then on out, each week will be 2 tribes going to tribal council. But I don't know. It's so hard because the season's so short now. I really don't know how they're going to do these eliminations. The season's short and the episodes are long, which is odd.
I'm getting feedback from viewers that it is technically 2 back-to-back episodes. So I think
okay. So yeah. So I think we're gonna have a traditional first, like one person getting voted off first in that first episode. Maybe the second episode will be a double, but it'd be kind of crazy to have 3 people eliminated on night 1.
It is, but it's like looking at when you're looking just the numbers of people. I kind of don't hate. I wonder if they do double elimination each night, each episode. But to that point, I don't think they'll do 4 the first night. So maybe you're right. Maybe it's a double elimination the first episode, single.
I think the second, yeah.
Yeah, I think after that, I can see. I guess maybe It depends though if they want to break out into 2 larger tribes, which is my hope. That they do that and stick to that heading into merge. Because I think that'll. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to do numbers now. So
we're at 24 people, right?
20 or is it 24 people? 1, 2.
Yeah, three of 8.
Yep.
So I think most likely we'll get a swap at the final 14, 2 tribes of 7, something like that. And at that point they might slow the game down to a normal rate. But I think these first few weeks are going to be fast and furious with eliminations.
Looking at the tribes, how do you feel about your number 1 overall pick was Jenna, right?
Jenna Lewis, yeah.
How do you feel about your pick now? Because obviously, like I said, I feel much better about my coach pick. I have complete and utter confidence in coach. I would follow him to the ends of the earth, but I now feel way better about our chances of winning.
Yeah, I think it's going to depend on who emerges as the strategic threat of the tribe. So we've seen Sari be that a lot of times, right? And the one calling the shots. We just saw a season where her and Parv called the shots almost to the end of the game entirely. But Joe was also in that position on his season. He's by far probably the strongest person on this tribe, the person who would, most easily slide into a leadership role on it. I think Savannah is drawing so dead. Not only being a new player who nobody knows, but I imagine Jeff is going to call it out that she's a winner, right?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think I do wonder if they'll maybe put 2 and 2 together though. That obviously we have a winner on Kahlo, a winner on Vatu, and obviously they know everybody on Sela is not a winner. So I think that they can do the math of 2 + 2, but I don't know if Jeff will specifically call it out.
It's always hard because so I think back on Blood versus Water where Hayden was playing and he had won Big Brother, and Jeff pretty quickly was like, Hayden, you have been very good at a game kind of like Survivor before. And Hayden was kind of like, oh, okay, yeah, yep. Obviously I won Big Brother,
We have this tribe too. So we have obviously Savannah won. So that's our winner. We have Rick, who came in 4th. We have Ozzy, whose best placement ever was second place.
1 vote away from winning.
We have Joe, whose best placement was 3rd place, which realistically Joe was the second best player in that season. Joe should have been 2nd place. Mm-hmm. I actually don't. Did Joe and Eva tie? Because this chart I'm looking at says Joe was 3rd. I thought Joe was
2nd, but they must have tied for 3rd, or I don't know. I don't remember.
I'm going to count Joe's best placement as 2nd because I don't like saying that Eva, unless she quite literally did have more votes than him. I thought that Joe got 1 vote.
Joe got 1 vote and Eva got 2. Thank you so much.
I think I've repressed the ending of that season from my brain, even though I love Kyle. Well, that's a bummer. Okay, so Joe's best placement was 3rd. Obviously, Jenna came in 3rd on All Stars. Emily 7th. I think Emily and Christian are tied they both came in 7th place in their season. I feel like Christian. I feel like watching Dave vs. Goliath. I thought Christian was higher, but I guess that lines up with the end game of that season. And then obviously Sari, her best placement was 3rd, and
3rd, right? Yeah.
In Micronesia. This is like a very.
They screwed her in Micronesia by making it a final 2.
And then looking at Tiffany on Kahlo, this is another. You have 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. You have 4 players who all placed 2nd in their season. between Chrissy, Charlie, Mike, and Coach in South Pacific. We have D who won. Tiffany is the worst placement in 8th.
Yeah, and then the other two are Final Four fire making, right?
Yep. Camilla, Jonathan in 4th. Charlie, the closest here. Christy's a different argument, but Charlie, the closest here to winning, being 1 vote off, having it ripped away from him. Kahlo is in terms of just talking placement overall, Kahlo is a stacked tribe. And then going to Vatu, Angelina came in 3rd in her season. Aubrey came 2nd in Khao Rung, then placed 5th in Game Changers, both thanks to Ty. Colby Donaldson, obviously, very famously came in 2nd in Australian Outback, even though he was the best player on that season. Genevieve.
I'm a big Tina guy, so I don't know. But
I like Tina a lot. I mean, Tina deserves a lot of credit for maybe finessing Colby in a way, but we've talked about it before. I think Colby was playing the long game of wanting the post-Survivor life. But that's a different time, different era of what was going on in the world. Yeah. Genevieve came in 5th, who's a player that I think we all really, really like in this season. Yeah. Kyle, obviously, that's the winner. Q 6th. Rizzo placed in 4th. And then Steph came in 2nd in Guatemala. Yeah. All really, really good. Who was like the worst placement overall here? Their best. I think it might be Tiffany.
Tiffany is the lowest, I believe, on the whole season.
Sorry, this is like when we finally I'm like, I love this chart. This is on Reddit. I don't know who made this, but this like breakdown of their seasons, where they're from. Like for Jonathan, for example, like it gives like a brief. I don't know if you're looking at the same chart I am.
I think
it gives
so.
It gives a brief like write up for him, but apparently he is a Guinness World Record holder for the most pull-ups with 100 pounds on his back. So
I believe it.
Just a reminder that he is an absolute just freak of a human being. That's what I think it's going to benefit Kahlo a lot, unless we get
Listen, I'll never forget
puzzle heavy.
Dylan watching Jonathan get eliminated on endurance and saying he wanted to be jacked like the host of endurance, and here we are all these years later, and he's way more jacked than JD Roth was,
and he looks the exact same. He doesn't look, I mean, if anything, he looks more like cut. I think that he is, once again,
he's been training to come back for sure.
Listen to our draft, because I think we do have a good breakdown of players we like and why we like them. But Jonathan is, I'm like very, very intrigued by Jonathan in this season. I think that he is probably a long shot to win, but I maybe put him more in the middle range than like the back end range for players this season. I think Jonathan is a very, very interesting player to watch. Like I said, I think that him and Coach.
Yeah, I mean, he did good on his season. Like, he wasn't gonna win, but he did good.
He lost in fire to Mike, right? Yeah. Lost in fire to Mike.
And he says that he lost and he would have won. I don't think so, but
I liked him as a player. Then it seems like a lot more people on the island liked him as a player.
He admitted he gets grumpy when he hasn't eaten. And being as huge as he is, I definitely think that's like a huge detriment for him, you know.
That was also the season we had kind of the King of the Hill changing every single week with Marianne in the end coming out. I think Jonathan's a very interesting player to watch. I think him and Coach automatically right off the bat, they're the two players I think that will come together.
Yeah.
I think that D is, I mean, you make me nervous with Savannah, because I was talking about this once again with my brother, my little baby bro, who I love to talk Survivor with. We were talking about, because we're both, Coach is our number one for who we think would be like the most satisfying win for us. Yeah. And I put Savannah at number 2 for the reason being, one, because she's going to have a really, really tough uphill battle the whole time, being both the unknown and people seemingly going to be figuring out she was the winner. I think having a winner win back-to-back seasons, and one of the seasons being an all-star season, is kind of insane. And I think to be able to experience that live, whatever you want to say about current modern Survivor versus old school Survivor, I think being able to see that live is incredibly exciting. So I could probably put Savannah number 2. Obviously, Suri. I think everybody would be happy with Suri winning, but at this point, is it more of like a lifetime achievement award for Suri than it feels like as it would be as rewarding for her to win something like Game Changers or Heroes versus Villains? Probably, like I think it would probably feel more like that, but at the same time, I think Suri would have to completely kind of put her gameplay on overdrive to be able to do that, because like we said off the bat, you sitting here watching at home, Suri would be one of the first people you would want out, but that's why she's so good, is that she's so lovable and so likable that people there on the island may just keep her around because she is Suri and that's what she does. But I think in order for Suri to win, I think that we would have to see her play the best game she's ever played, because she's not playing with any new players. She's playing with all people that have played before, which I know she has on other seasons with Heroes versus Villains, with Game Changers, where it's all people that have played before. But I think obviously she did incredible on Australia versus the World. She was basically kind of the driving. She was a passenger with Parvati there. I think Suri.
I would say co-pilot. Yeah.
I think that it is. I think she has a challenge. I don't think that the people on this island are going to be wowed by her like they had been previously. I think everybody here, a lot of people here, have something to prove. I feel like I think Colby has something to prove after All Stars and Heroes versus Villains. He's been very vocal about that, and we also know this is going to be his last chance to win. We have ex-winners who are smart enough to play, but also know they have a huge target on their back, where maybe they try to push Suri out there early to keep them another day, because once again, Suri is a very, very scary player, no matter how you look at it. She may not be scary physically, but I think her social gameplay is maybe some of the best social gameplay we've ever seen in Survivor. So that's like, that's terrifying. So I think in order for Suri to win, I think I said it when we did our draft, I have Suri at the very bottom. I think for me, for players that I give a chance to win, I think to see Suri win would be satisfying, because I'm less worried about her overall kind of getting that lifetime achievement reward, like I said at the beginning. And I think it's more so she would have to play the perfect game, and she would put on one of the best performances we've seen in Survivor in order for her to win. Because I don't buy that this cast would allow her to go far if they didn't have any choice, or if she didn't play her cards right.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll have to see, but I definitely think it's going to be an uphill struggle for her, to be sure. Yeah, I just can't see Savannah. And no disrespect to her as a player, great player, she won. But if I'm hitting the beach and there's somebody who I don't know, and then I kind of figure out that she won, out of here,
I think it's like 2, because obviously Christian, it's just outside of Suri, I don't think anybody else it would be on paper terrifying for that tribe to say, yeah, let's keep this person, let's get rid of this person over Savannah. So it all depends what this game looks like, because I feel like that this is going to be a season of Survivor where, outside of the things like the Billie Eilish boomerang idol, whatever the hell that is, and the Jimmy Fallon like a chalice or whatever, they're gonna be drinking something out of it because it's Jimmy Fallon. I don't know. I think outside of things like that happening, I assume that the actual gameplay for Survivor will be similar to the things we've seen in recent New Era Survivor, but I don't know. And I don't know if that'll be things that will help Savannah. I don't know if she can find something like a Crazy Beware advantage early on, or something that keeps her in this game. Because once again, I think at this point in these seasons, you're literally just living the fight another day. I think because the threats that are all around the island. I think you're literally just living the fight another day. So we'll see. But I think Savannah on this tribe, looking at the breakdown outside of Suri, I think that she's a very obvious potential early boot. But I think that's the same reason why I think she would be such a satisfying winner, because her her journey from start to finish, if she was able to win this season again, would just be insane. Like regardless of what happens, coming in, winning the previous season, nobody knowing you except for Rizzo, I think that's like that's a very challenging road to go down.
I think also what I'm like most looking forward to of this season is seeing some of these new era players or the one-time players become like the new legends of the game, because we haven't had a chance to get any new legends out here. And like the one who I think of the most is like Kelly Wentworth, coming from like a rather forgettable run on San Juan del Sur, getting a unlikely second chance when you like consider her placement on her first season, and then becoming one of like, you know, the legends of Survivor. Like I can't wait to see who follows that path, you know.
We've said I think Survivor desperately needs its like next full-blown star. And you know, even if that stardom isn't necessarily at a national scale anymore like it used to be, I think that kind of have that star within the Survivor community, both with the diehards and maybe the casuals that still watch week to week. I think to have that is something that Survivor really, really needs. And obviously having a 2-time winner back to back would be huge. But I think having a new era player win this is great for Survivor, but as long as it's all done the right way, you know what I mean? Like as long as it's not something where we get into an Idol-mageddon where ridiculous things happen. Like as long as it's not dumb advantages, it would be very good for this game if a new era player wins. But I also think it would be equally, if not more so, great for Survivor as a whole on that national scale to have somebody, to have Colby win, to have a coach win, to have Suri win. Like I think that it would be huge for the game. It's just, I think that's also why Survivor 50 is so exciting, because it really is. It's both a celebration of the past 25 years, past 26 years, a mosh posh and a meshing of what is basically 3 different eras of Survivor, where we have the old school original Survivor era, then we have like the middle ground, which kind of like really leads up to, which basically leads up to Winners at War, right? Kind of that mixture of, I kind of count it really as from when Survivor went to HD with Tocantins, really all the way up to Winners at War. I really think that's like kind of the 3 eras of everything from 17 and before is like original OG Survivor. And I'm sure people have different opinions about this. And then everything from Tocantins.
Because I know people will be pedantic. Gabon was the first HD season. So 17 on.
So 17 on, or having, and I think up to Winners at War is kind of like a reasonable end to like that middle, like I guess you can call it modern Survivor. I don't know if there's official name for that era of Survivor, but I think like calling it modern Survivor kind of feels right to me.
That is, in my opinion, is like the Idol era of Survivor, when Idols kind of took over the game, and with Russell Hantz being like the peak of that, you know.
Era names of Survivor. I wonder if this is like something official I can find.
I don't think there is a official.
Well, like I say official, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So here's a breakdown from on the Survivor Reddit from Josh Loves Your Name. Seasons 1 through 8 is the classic era. Seasons 9 through 14 is the experimental era, which is obviously, I think that's when we started getting idols introduced and all that. 15 through 20 is the golden era, which I think 15 through 20 is China, Gabon, like we just referenced, obviously Tocantins.
Micronesia is 16.
Micronesia, the introduction of the Black Widow Brigade. Obviously, we got Russell Hantz in there. Heroes versus Villains kind of capped all that off. Then we have 21 through 26, which they've labeled the Dark Age, which respectfully, I'm a big fan of Philippines, so I won't technically count that.
Philippines was a huge bright spot of that era. I think Survivor was trying to refine, like, we talk about how Survivor needs the new legends of the game. Survivor was kind of like, okay, we had this huge season in Heroes versus Villains, which felt like the end of that era. And now we need to try to start something new with Nicaragua, which was, an all newbie team. But then they were like very quickly pivoted back to like, well, maybe the stars are what makes the show. So that's how we get Rob versus Russell, Aussie versus Coach, fans versus favorites 2, Philippines where there's 3 captains, Blood versus Water where it's half people who play before, and then the other half's like their friends, family, and then I think Cagayan and San Juan del Sur, and what was that? No collar, blue collar, white worlds apart. Those are like the new, player seasons in there, and then like One World was very experimental where it's like a format shift. So Survivor was really trying to find what it was in this era,
So they have 21 through 26 labeled the Dark Age, but then we have 27 through 33 labeled the Renaissance, which is I completely agree. I actually think that's a great name for it. I think Cagayan, obviously, it's in my opinion still one of the best seasons ever.
Mm-hmm.
This also includes Second Chance, which is outside. I think my true love now is with Heroes versus Villains as my number one favorite season, just because I just think everything that's gone into it. I think it's a great season. Heroes versus Villains speaks for itself. I don't need. Which, by the way, I have pre-ordered a Heroes versus Villains merge buff on Paramount. I am very, very excited for that.
Got my Villains buff right here next to me.
I am. It says it won't ship till April, but I am like hopeful maybe they'll send it out earlier. So at the very least, I feel like I'll have it by the finale of 50. But I'm very excited to get that. So then we have Blood versus Water 2 is in that Renaissance era, right? Because that was season
29.
29, right? Because we had 29, then Cagayan was 30, or Cagayan was 28.
Yeah,
and then 30 was 30. Woods Apart was 30, and then Khao Rung was 30. Or no, Khao Rung was
32. Filmed after Worlds Apart, but aired after Second Chance.
After Second Chance, which was 31. And then 33 was Millennials versus Gen
X. Yeah.
Yeah. That is a great run. That's a really good. And then receiving feedback from the audience again, 27 is the first Blood versus Water. So actually 27 to 33 is stacked. That's a great run for Survivor. The write-up they had for it too is a return to
let me tell you, Dylan, as someone who has been here the whole time, live podcasting even for it, after like Philippines was a huge bright spot. Everyone loved Philippines. And then Caramoan was very hyped up by Jeff, didn't live up to the hype. People didn't like it as much. And when it was announced that Blood versus Water was a concept, people were like, wow, this is the worst idea ever. You're going to have people with their family out there. Like, it's going to be so dark. And then it was fantastic. It was, way better than anyone could have imagined. And I think a little bit saved Survivor as a show going forward. And then Cagayan, amazing. Like, Chef's Kiss, amazing season. Tony, once in a lifetime type of a player,
You mentioned it in the beginning too. When I initially, because I always when Survivor was at its peak in the early 2000s, when really seemingly everybody was watching it, everybody, like the family pools, the Survivor was very, very prevalent, which I think is for a lot of people that didn't or weren't fully aware of it when it was happening, or lived through it, or people that were obviously born after. I don't think they can fully appreciate how big Survivor was at that point, which is tough because you get it all the time and you tell people you still watch Survivor. They go, oh, that's still on. Like back then, it was literally all people were watching.
I would get it since high school.
So I think when I fully got into it was during COVID. I think it was the first summer of, I think it was like June, it was either May or June of 2020 when I first got into it. I think one night I had like a couple IPAs. I was feeling good. And you and I at this point were doing our like pop culture podcast, our movie and TV podcast. I think at that point it was called Brian and Dylan Take on the World. I forget if we had changed the name at that point yet to, we've had so many names. We're now Wicked Good Show.
Pretty good show, yeah.
Which is where we'll reside. But I one night I was like, hey, is this season good? Cut out, and you're like, yeah, it's great. You know, like it was so messy, but it's like such a great season of TV. I put it on. I think I threw it on like 10 o'clock that night. I think I stayed up until about like 3 a.m. watching it. I think I got halfway through. I think I got up to the merge. I was so into it. And then immediately I finished that. I immediately went into Token Jeans after that, per your recommendation. You said, hey, there's a guy named Coach on this season. He's one of my all-time favorite players. He's ridiculous. And I hated Coach at first. Like
That's all part of the process. You got to hate him to love him.
I hated Coach. I hated Tyson right off the bat, and they're two of my all-time favorite players now. I was laughing at Coach. I was not laughing with him. I am very much now laughing with Coach. And I think from Token, because I was so the reason I'm talking about it, because I was so all over the place. I was in different eras at this point. But I watched Kagion. Then I went to Token Sheens, and then I bounced back and did San Juan del Sur. And then from San Juan del Sur, I immediately jumped to Kaorung. Once again, I was all over the place at this point. And then from Kaorung, I think that's when I went to, I think that's when I went back to Second Chance. So I saw Second Chance because I think at the end, is it at the live finale of
Worlds Apart?
They did the draft for Second Chance, right? Or they announced like all the people that were playing it. I saw that. I'm like, oh, what is this? Because I was trying to stay completely spoiler free, so I had no idea that like Jeremy came back and played again. I had no idea that like Abby Maria came back, played again, for example. It was great. So that like the way I watched that was, I think, good for me, but kind of like so incredibly chaotic for like a normal viewer.
Yeah. That's the hard thing, because I'm always like, when people are like, well, where should I start? I'm always like, with the first season, because the show builds on itself and there's a history and a through line of it. But I know that's not realistic. It's a hard ask to have people go watch a show that was airing in the early 2000s for a lot of reasons. It's a hard ask, but you know, I'm glad that you stuck with it and became such a big fan of it.
No, it's honestly, it's had, not to get cheesy, it's had such a positive impact on my life. It was a show my wife and I loved watching together. So especially during COVID, obviously when you were just in the same house with the same people all the time, obviously right. It was very easy to want your own space. But I think kind of finding that show for us, and I know this happened for millions and millions of people that were fortunate enough to be home with people that they like to be with. I think having something like Survivor, where we basically had a limitless catalog to go through, right? I was not watching at that point all 39 seasons of Survivor. 40 was just ending, obviously, when all this began to happen. I was not watching all 40 seasons of Survivor, that summer. So it was like a really, really good kind of experience for me, a good experience for my family. I got a lot of people in my family back into it, especially ahead of the premiere of 41. I got my brother into it. My dad got back into it. My dad and my stepmom were one of the people that loved watching Survivor back when it was live. And I remember like the family pools for then. So Survivor really has had nothing but a positive impact on my life since I've got into it. Since then, we do this podcast. Yep. I've gone to a watch party with my brother. We've had this podcast now for 5 years. I don't know how many episodes we're on, but like we're either approaching 100 or we're getting.
We're past 100.
So we're past 100. Obviously we talk every week, and even now when Survivor's done, we pretty much talk Survivor all year. I think it's it's been really cool. And I think and I think Survivor with season 50 is going to make that leap to, they're not going to ever be back to their peak of where they were with fandom. But I think with 50, especially with all the promotion they're doing and all the familiar names they have coming back, it's only going to bring in more people. And especially they've had some really, really good ratings these past few seasons. I think it's gonna be great. I think it's gonna be great for us. I think it's gonna be great for the Survivor world, as long as it's not. I am in such delusion that there's a possibility this season can be bad. I think that I think they have the right makeup of characters where it's going to be a good season. But I, you know, with returning player seasons, it's always scary. I know our other co-host Ben is not as high on returning player seasons. So it's rightfully so with how you guys have been burned previously in the past. But I am like incredibly hopeful, and I think it's going to be very, very good for Survivor, good for this podcast, and I think it's just exciting. It's very, very. I don't think that right, because in high school, when you said you were in high school, that was kind of like where Survivor was kind of starting to get back in that renaissance, right? Where they were kind of coming
Yeah,
off the quote
so
unquote dark ages.
high school was, I want to say, season 12, maybe 12 was like 8th grade. 2007, so that would have been Survivor China era, like Fiji. Maybe Fiji was like the last one when I was in middle school, and then there was like China, Micronesia, Gabon, Tocantins, Samoa, Heroes versus Villains. Yeah, that was junior year.
Yeah,
and
China
then
was
Nicaragua
September
and
2020.
Redemption Island senior year. So I got to go out high school with Boston Rob winning Survivor. That was very exciting. And then South Pacific was freshman year of college.
Did it feel like to you at that point that we would be getting a Survivor 50 and it would still be like this relevant?
No, I mean, so it was a show that I was almost like embarrassed to still be watching back then. Like, and I'm, I have such an obsessive personality. Like, if there's something I like I just can't be normal about it. I have to like learn everything about it and, be on message boards and deep dives and all of that stuff. But it was also like a big part of just like my life growing up. Like, I started watching during the Australian outback, and I've been watching ever since. And I never thought we'd get to 50, but now that we're on 50, I'm like, we're going to get to 100.
I think, unless this is a disaster season, I think at the very least we're going to get to.
Unless someone dies.
Well, once again, people are getting old. Jeff is getting old. Yeah. We're seeing a lot of previous Survivor players pass. I do think, we've talked about it before. Will Jeff ever hand off the host mantle? I think that is a huge kind of the next step for Survivor of where will they go? Because once again, Jeff is getting old. So are the people like Boston Rob. So are the people like Tyson. So are the people like Parvati. So the people like Sari, the people that you would think maybe will be the people to take over as hosting for Survivor. I know it's previously been thrown out there of having the guy that hosted Australian Survivor up until recently taking over. I think you have to have somebody from the U.S. Survivorverse to take over. I really do. Whether that is somebody like D, who obviously has been very active with Jeff's podcast, which D is still in the prime of her playing years. So I don't think that that's somebody that would be considered right now. I think
I would imagine they're probably eyeing Boston Rob would be the guy who I think that they would go for.
You have to credit Boston Rob too for like his ability to kind of resurge and stay relevant in pop culture. He's everywhere now, especially shout out Dylan Efron. I think him and Dylan Efron kind of bringing two very different fandoms together. Obviously they're great buds. Traders has been great. I think having, people always talk about Jeff potentially hating players that go on Traders. And I think they hate more so the way some players conduct themselves outside of Survivor and the way they talk about Survivor rather than them actually going on other shows. But shows like Traitors, shows that are popular with the newer generation that are shining light on Survivor. Because I think somebody could very easily, who had no idea what Survivor was, watch Traitors, like, oh, this guy Boston Rob was awesome. Oh, this woman Suri who won this is awesome. What did she do before this? Oh, Survivor. Let me go back and watch that. I think we can all agree Survivor was the prime of like all their careers, even if they won Traitors and were a very good trader in Traitors. I think Survivor is going to always stay relevant in the pop culture, to what degree it matters. But I think just once again, Boston Rob had his wedding aired on TV with Amber.
Right.
It's literally on TV. His engagement was broadcasted on TV. Boston Rob was so important to U.S. pop culture for 15 years. So it is very good that he's had that resurgence. I think it's only good for Survivor. I would love to see one day to have him host. I just don't. I don't. Who knows how long Jeff has? Jeff could have another 20 years, honestly. He's a very in shape man. I think Jeff is in his 60s at this point. I don't necessarily know if he will do it until he's 80. But I think that we're probably still a few years away from talking about Jeff actually giving it up, if he ever will want to give it up. But I think that that's the point where we'll kind of see the change for Survivor, whether it's for the long haul or the short haul. You know, whether they go from Paramount to Netflix, which is obviously a very topical debate between two streaming empires right now, Paramount and Netflix. We'll see. But I am we're coming up on an hour. Is there anything else you wanted to get to, Brian?
No, I mean, I wanted to talk about new people becoming legends. I did pull up while we were talking the spreadsheet from our analytics, and this will be episode 125. So we're well past episode 100. It also has our most downloads was our season 50 cast reaction with 342. Do you want to guess what episode was our least downloaded, Dylan?
Our very first one, obviously, right?
No, our very first one, a lot of the ones near the bottom were 41 because we were just starting. Our very first one is like 10th to last. Season 43, episode 8 is our least viewed episode. Don't know why. Don't know what happened there. But I guess we were still finding our footing a little bit as a show. But hopefully it's just onwards and upwards for us as a brand. I'd love to eventually become a podcast that gets to interview players when they get voted off. That's a big goal. So maybe this year will be the start of that,
Yeah, I think doing these streams has been great. Just getting able to talk with people who are just coming in just completely raw off the street for Survivor. I think that's really cool. I love it. I think we need to get to a watch party. I think that we have a lot of like loose connections to some of these players that we should be able to do that. Who knows? Maybe one day one of us will be on Survivor or on the Traitors.
Maybe.
I am playing the game of my life in my work Traitors right now. I am in the finale come tomorrow at work. Once again, I have a real job, and this is one of the things I've done. I've been shout out Lauren, who is a listener of this podcast, who is also a coworker who kind of initiated the office Traitors. We have our finale tomorrow.
Game, but I'm glad it's going well.
It sure is. I called a coworker a rat traitor, and I think I think that they didn't know how to react to that. I'm trying to see. 43 episode 8 was. It was the first episode post merge. I'm trying to remember. I don't even remember anything about 43. Okay. 43 was. 43 was Gabler. Was Gabler season? Season Gabler 1. I think after
first
the fact,
member of the jury. What was her name?
I think 43 is one of those seasons we can just forget, and has nothing to do with Gabler. I think it has to do with everything that was the fallout of everything after 43 that I just have no interest in ever revisiting, which is kind of how I feel the same thing about 41 too. So outside of Shan,
Ellie's boot episode, maybe.
outside of Shan, who I thought for sure would be a player we would see again, I really don't have too much interest of. I guess Erica, in the sense of wanting to see her play again because the edit was so bad for her winning season.
Mhm.
I think outside of Shan, I really have no interest in seeing many people from 41 or 43 ever again. So unless they want to come on the show, in that case, I will be a big fan of yours and push you whenever I
A
can.
lot of 43 players were on the latest season of Beast Games. I guess they were like, well, we didn't make 50, so we're gonna be on Beast Games.
I've heard everybody and their mother is on Beast Games.
Mhm.
I believe House of Villains has started or is starting, right? That's another big show. We got Tyson on
Yep,
that.
yep.
Um,
And your boy from the Traders,
um,
last
who?
last year's favorite. What's his name?
Oh, Tom Sandoval. Yes,
Tom
yes.
Sandoval.
Love
Yes.
Tom Sandoval. I know our co-host on our Traders podcast would have no interest in this. But
Yes.
I would love to get Tom Sandoval on the pod. If he'll come on
Oh yeah.
Blindsiders, we'll have him. I would make Tom Sandoval a co-host if he wanted to join. Honestly, it is
Sure. Yeah.
Tom Sandoval, if you're listening, that put the word out. Someone put the Tom Sandoval bat beacon on. One of my all-time favorite pictures is of Tyson riding in Tom Sandoval's little sidecar on his motorcycle, and Tyson has on a helmet and goggles. It is like the greatest picture ever.
That's amazing. You have to send that to me.
All right, Brian. Any famous last words before we get out of here?
No, I'm looking forward to it. It's been fun. It's like you said, this podcast has been really great. Been able to stay like close through it, which is great. And one day we'll bring back Wicked Show for realsies.
Yeah, I think when we have, yes, I agree. We got to do
Maybe just
something.
make that a stream like this.
Good. I think this
Just
is
like
this is
stream.
we plan this last minute. I think it's fun to talk about things we're excited about. Obviously,
Yes.
Ben is out on vacation, but Ben will be back next week.
Mhm.
I believe our plan. We have a very busy week next week, right? We have the season 50 premiere on Wednesday. We then have the Traders finale on that Thursday. So I think our plan as of right now is to hop on a stream and record and discuss the premiere of 50 before the Traders finale, and then we will potentially be hopping on a live stream after the Traders finale or the day after. We're going to figure that out. But it's going to be a very, very busy week for us, but very, very exciting. I think it's going to be a very good spring for us. So very excited.
Yeah, it'll be fun. And you know what? I love the February Survivors because my birthday is the 26th. It's almost like Jeff is giving me a birthday present.
It really is.
With the new season. So
you get a Survivor premiere the night before, and then you get a Traders finale the same day of. That is very exciting.
I hope they're both really good. That'd be awesome.
Which, once again, you talk about stars. Rob Roush. He is a man's man. Women want him, men want to be him. I think that he is our. I mean, he already is a star, but he is our next huge reality TV pop culture celebrity. I think that we're going to be seeing a lot more of Rob. Sort of similar to kind of Dylan Efron and what we saw with Traders. He already had a following, but I think that only amplified it. So shout out Rob. Hot Rob. Love him. Once again, women want him, men want to be him. I'm sure men want him, women want to be him.
Probably definitely want him, I would imagine.
He's consumed me body and soul. All I think about him is night and day. I've talked about Rob once a day now for a month and a half. So shout out Rob R. But before I go on a binge talking about Hot Rob, I'm going to get out of here. Brian, happy early birthday. Next time I talk to you, it will be your birthday.
It'll be my birthday.
We will have
Getting so old, Dylan. Hate it.
You really are. You and Jeff Probst are only a few years apart.
I know. But you know what? He started hosting Survivor at 40, so the best is yet to come, I hope.
I think it is, especially for the show. I think it's going to be a big season for us. Please stick around. I saw our boy or girl, Daryl, hanging out. So, Daryl, thanks for joining again.
Appreciate it, Daryl.
And we will see you guys next week.
Later.